It's beginning to look a lot like unsealing everywhere you go. Hello, welcome back to this channel. How are you? Happy Monday, December 1st. Can you believe it? My name is Mandy Magnan. I'm an actress, writer, producer, and director in Toronto, a movie reviewer, pop culture, and your YouTube commentator for everything it ends with never. There was an order that came in from the judge today. We're going to go over that real quickly, and then we're going to go over everything that's been unsealed to Lively's motion, okay? She filed a whole motion, and everything was redacted, making us think one thing as she does, and now we have the unsealing from that document. As we wait for December 3rd, I believe by tomorrow around midnight, we should be getting all of the unsealing. Yeah, you heard that straight. Crazy week it's gonna be, like every other week, you know? So if you're ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Now, there's some things we can get into in the PR game. Taylor Swift, of course, doing damage control. Now there's articles with Ed Sheeran in it, and there's articles about her bridesmaids, and now, they're having a problem with, what do you call that? The contract between marriages. It's called, prenuptial. Right. Obviously, I'm very well known in that universe, except, not getting none of my money. You hear me? And I'm marrying you. I get half. That's the way it goes. But yeah, there's a lot of things happening in PR, and they're obviously doing a lot of damage control because going into the weekend last week, it was all about how Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman were at Ryan Reynolds' place. So it was like 4-on-1. Ryan Reynolds berated Justin Baldoni until he was in tears over asking about his wife's weight. He privately asked Blake Lively's trainer, who also became his trainer for the film, how much she weighed, and that got back to Blake Lively within 24 hours, and then Ryan wasn't happy because Ryan's like, I'm the only one that gets to degrade and fat shame my wife, okay? And now that you did it, I'm going to use your trauma, Blake, and put it in my biggest movie yet. Get out of here. So there's a lot of damage control that's going to be happening, and I knew Taylor Swift was going to play the PR game. She's going to keep feeding stuff to the media, so everyone talks about that, and no one talks about how much of a mean girl she just is. And I just keep finding out so much more stuff about Taylor Swift that I'm like, she dated how many underage boys? She did what to other female artists? She did what? Yeah, there's a lot coming out about her, and it is just not good. So the damage control is going to be happening for a very, very, very long time. On top of her just releasing over 28 variants of one mid-album, she's now coming out with another Eras documentary in December, and I find it kind of funny that they're signing it to Disney. Because if you remember, Disney in the Marvel world was also subpoenaed earlier this year, I believe in May, by Wayfair. Yeah. And now Taylor Swift signed a contract for her new docuseries. I don't know. It's all a little weird. But anyway, let's get into the motion today from the judge. It wasn't a win for Blake like she expected. And it's not really a loss for Wayfair, but the judge wasn't too pleased with Wayfair, and he calls it out. Judge Lyman does not like when you go in the back door and you get an extension of time between parties and don't ask him, okay? He needs to approve everything. So we're not going to read the whole thing because it's pretty much just him reiterating what Blake was asking. So if we remember, she sent 557 requests for admission. And Wayfair people were like, yo, we can't authenticate all this stuff. Like, this is bonkers. We need a couple more days. They were given a couple more days. They came back and were like, yeah, we're not authenticating a lot of this stuff because we can't, et cetera, et cetera. Blake ran to the judge. We're here. Okay. Then Wayfair came back and said, hey, we did our best. We're trying to meet and confer. We're trying to do this as a team. Okay. The judge thinks that Wayfair's answer is untimely and not great. Pretty much, that it was kind of like a weak answer, and let's get into it. It's beginning to look a lot like unsealing. Oh my God, I've been singing that all day. I can't wait to see anything from anybody else but Wayfair. That's how excited I am because, as we know, So far, it's all been one-sided. We haven't got nothing from Blake, what she said, any of her text messages, any of her emails. We didn't get no depositions from anybody else. Like, I want to see Colleen Hoover's deposition. I want to see Brandon Sklenar's deposition, Isabel Ferrer, Jenny the Man-Beater Slate. I want to see WME's deposition. I want to see Alex Sachs, the turncoat little snitch that she is. I want to see that deposition. I want to see Angie Giannotti's deposition. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see the text messages that Blake sent to people. I want to see that side of it now, because we've already seen almost everything damn near that we can see from the Wayfarer, except for the things I'm going to show you next. The beginning of the letter is kind of just what I broke down to you right there with everyone's answers and responses, and then he gets into it. The Wayfarer party's responses are deficient and untimely. Absent a stipulation, their responses were due on November 10th, 2025. In the ordinary course, the failure to answer each RFA by that date would be considered an admission. Even accepting that characterization, however, the responses served on November 13th were deficient, as they did not satisfy the conditions for that extension, namely that the Wayfarer parties answer each RFA with specificity. The Wayfarer parties' objection to the RFAs are without merit. The Wayfarer parties object to the number of documents Lively asked to be authenticated. However, the volume of documents is reasonable given the number of parties and claims. An answering party who lacks personal knowledge or information regarding the truth of an RFA is still required to make a reasonable inquiry as to its truth and is relieved of the requirement to answer only if the information cannot be readily obtained to enable it to answer. The court has the power, however, to permit what would otherwise be an untimely answer even after the time fixed, as the rule has expired. A short extension would aid in the presentation of the merits of the case and would not prejudice Lively. Accordingly, by December 5th, 2025, the Wayfarer party shall answer the RFAs as corrected on October 31st, indicating for each Wayfarer party whether the party admits or denies the authenticity of the identified document or lacks sufficient knowledge or information after performing a reasonable inquiry. Blake Lively had tried to get all 557 RFAs admitted and authenticated, even if Wayfarer didn't authenticate them. So this kind of doesn't help Lively, because she didn't get to just have all of the evidence, even if it was not true or not authenticated by Wayfarer. She just wanted all 557 items admitted into the court as true. This gives Wayfarer a few days to get their things in order. So no one really wins here except Wayfarer does. I mean, it is kind of a win for Wayfarer because they get a few days extension to be able to work on it. But Lively definitely didn't get what she was looking for, which is yet again just Wayfarer being completely silenced. And yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know why they didn't just do their best to meet the deadline, especially since they were giving a 3-day extension by Lively's team. But, in Brian Friedman, I trust, and I'm sure by the 5th, they'll have everything answered and authenticated. And a lot of the things they can't even authenticate, which is in their letter, because a lot of the things are coming from news articles and from third parties and journalists. So they can't authenticate whether or not, that's true or not true or anything like that. So we'll see what they have in order. But I think it's funny because since November 26th, that was the only thing filed in the court since Judge Lyman put in that ruling to have everything unsealed. There was no Friday night dump. There was nothing else. Since the 26th, when Judge Lyman put in that huge unsealing order and how he wants things now put into the court when it comes to exhibits, it's been crickets. It's been crickets. And I wouldn't be surprised if at this point, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are being pressured to drop the case, because a lot of people's names, a lot of people's careers, and a lot of things are about to be completely dragged in media and in the public. And there's probably a lot of pressure on her right now, especially from Taylor Swift's camp, to close this thing. And yeah, we'll see what's happening. But I wouldn't be surprised if before all of this stuff comes unsealed, if something that we're not expecting happens. I was going through all the depositions and everything unsealed for the court docket 871. And I was like, this doesn't really show that Wayfair did anything. What is this all about? And then I remembered what this was for, and it was literally from Blake Lively filed this to prove the smear campaign. And I think before we go over all the depositions and everything, we should really go to Blake Lively's letter that she filed and work off that and see if all of the things that she actually redacted and the way she put it is what is in the exhibits, because I have a feeling it's not. Something I found really great, though, that was unsealed is Justin Baldoni's responses and objections to Blake Lively's 5th set of interrogatories. And it's just, let's just go over it for a little review. The answer for most of them is this exact same copy and pasted. Jennifer Abel has a little bit different for the most part. For Justin Baldoni's anyway, it's this exact same answer, and I'll show you. But it says, Colleen Hoover's highly successful novel, It Ends With Us, Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and the film It Ends With Us have all been the subject of extraordinary public interest. Although negative coverage of Lively began with the news of her casting and continued due to paparazzi photograph of her character's wardrobe chosen by Lively herself, rumors of discord between the responding party, the film's lead actor and director, and Lively on the set heightened media interest in and somewhat prior to August of 2024, driven in large measure by Lively and certain cast members' mass unfollowing of responding party on social media and responding parties conspicuous absent from the film's marketing and publicity events, as well as gossip regarding Lively's efforts to wrest creative control of the film from responding party Heath and Wayfair Studios. In response to public interest, the media began to report 1. A poorly conceived and tone-deaf marketing campaign for the film spearheaded by Lively in coordination with Maximum Effort Productions and its principal, Ryan Reynolds. 2. Lively's promotion of a film about domestic violence with her hair care and alcohol brands. 3. Lively's alcohol brand sponsorship on an official film promotional event and decision to name a signature cocktail after the film's male lead, a domestic abuser. 4. Lively's conspicuous refusal to take photos or do press with responding party and her exclusion of responding party from promotional appearances, international premieres, panel appearances, and screening. 5. Lively's campaign to alienate the film's cast and crew from responding party, including the orchestration of their mass unfollowing of responding party social media accounts. 6. Lively's pointed failure to meaningfully engage with the film's serious subject matter and emphasis of levity in her promotional appearances, interviews, and social media posts. And 7. Lively's mirage of bizarre and off-putting public appearances and interviews by leading up to the film's release. Lively further fueled the negative press by feeding information to the New York Times and other media outlets in advance of the filing of her complaint, which she provided along with inflammatory text messages to the New York Times well prior to the complaint's filing. Criticism of Lively escalated when litigation commenced following her multi-month coordination with the New York Times to launder stolen private communications and peddle a false narrative in order to, in responding party's view, resuscitate her tarnished public image at the Wayfair party's expense. Through the New York Times article, Lively stirred up significant public interest in her allegations against the Wayfair parties. Lively's strategy backfired when the factual basis of her allegations started to unravel and the real story emerged, painting a highly negative picture of Lively and her cohorts. That negative public image has only been heightened by the unrelenting public relations tactics of Lively's legal team, which has cynically exploited and thereby diluted the language of domestic violence survivorship, DARVO, and engage in a concerted abuse of subpoena power to intimidate internet influence and chill public criticism of Lively. These factors and conduct by Lively and her agents organically created a climate of negative public sentiment against Lively, which spurred the media and internet users to dig up and recirculate unflattering content concerning Lively's behavior from years past. And they write that same answer throughout the entire, every single answer is that, and I absolutely love it. Justin Baldoni also brings up that he was actually the one that was smeared against. Responding party is aware of a variety of conduct by Lively and her agents tantamount to a smear campaign against the responding party and Wayfair and others. Lively took a series of steps she knew or should have known would cause negative public chatter about responding party and Wayfair, including orchestrating a mass unfollowing, excluding responding party from interviews and promotional activities, refusing to allow photos of responding parties and her to be taken, attempting to ban Baldoni from the premiere, and when that failed, sequestering him from her and the rest of the cast, refusing to say responding party's name in pre- and post-release publicity efforts, causing the removal of responding party's name from marketing materials, planting through her publicist negative stories about Justin Baldoni in the press, and coordinating a hit piece with the New York Times over the span of multiple months accusing Justin Baldoni and Heath of sexual harassment and the other Wayfair parties of orchestrating a retaliatory smear campaign to cover up her allegations, releasing an otherwise confidential Civil Rights Department complaint for the purpose of causing maximum reputational damage to the Wayfair parties, and releasing inflammatory statements through her legal team regarding the Wayfair parties, including accusing them of Darvo. Taken together, Justin Baldoni believes these actions constitute a smear campaign on Lively's part. This is such a great answer to them as well. From the time of her casting as Lily Bloom, and especially after the release of paparazzi captured photos of her character's wardrobe, again chosen by Lively, Lively has been scrutinized on social media. In or around and somewhat prior to August 2024, Justin Baldoni observed that criticism of Lively, and it heightened on social media, and to a lesser extent in tabloid mainstream media, for among other things, her perfunctory treatment of the film's serious subject matter, off-putting and tone-deaf public appearances, and Lively's decision to cross-promote her alcohol and hair care brands with a domestic violence movie. Because Lively had so effectively isolated Baldoni from her promotional activities, Baldoni was insulated from the public backlash Lively incited. In response, Justin Baldoni believes Blake Lively has engaged in a concerted effort to vilify Justin and other Wayfair parties, Jed Wallace, and street relations in an effort to resuscitate her public image. That campaign started in August of 2024 when Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, started planting negative stories about Justin Baldoni, including that he had fat-shamed her and that he belonged to a cult. Lively then worked in secret with Wayfair's and responding party's former publicist relation, Jones Works, and Stephanie motherfucking Jones to launder private stolen communications, splicing and stripping them of context to support a factually false narrative that Lively's reputational challenges were a function not of her own missteps, but instead of a smear campaign orchestrated by Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair parties in retaliation for purported allegations of sexual misconduct. Lively and or her agents fed these false allegations to the New York Times, which ultimately regurgitated them in a bombshell article intended for maximum public impact. The day before litigation, Lively requested a right to sue notice from the California Civil Rights Department and attached a recitation of purported factual allegations. Lively's attachments was procedurally unnecessary and would have been confidential had she not leaked it to the New York Times for publication. Responding party, Justin Baldoni, believes these actions were designed to change the prevailing narrative about her and recast her as the victim rather than the architect of her own undoing. They go on to say anything that has to do with the contract, that they fully followed the contract. They did everything that they needed to do as a studio head and production team. It does say here that the interrogatory does not specify the instances with respect to which Lively contends she did not provide consent. Based on the evidence and testimony in this case, however, Lively consented to, among other things, 1, playing the role she was cast for, including the shooting of intimate scenes, 2, accepting changes to the script and some degree of improv during filming, 3, Jamie Heath's entry into the trailer on the occasion described in her second amended complaint, and 4, the use of the term sexy to describe her character's wardrobe. Just by these answers alone, I feel like they have a lot more information when it comes to Stephanie motherfucking Jones and the New York Times and the colluding that was happening with everyone involved. So I'm very excited to see more of that. Yes, please. Now let's get into Blake Lively's memorandum, and I'm going to pull up side by side the exhibits that she says proves her claims. Just to briefly look at it, if you're looking at the screen, it was like something like this: redacted, redacted. Look at all these redactions. So I mean, it just was pages of redactions, right? And all of this, she had already filed a letter to have all of this sealed. So I just want to go to some of them and see if, she was telling the truth, or if she gave us a little, a little spin for our money. A spin for our money is definitely not a saying. I just made that up. That does not make sense. It kind of starts here with certain Wayfair defendants acknowledged receipt of a legal letter on or about November 9th, 2023, triggering an obligation to preserve evidence. So yeah, she's trying to use her 17-point list of crazy demands because all of the things in there was either already implemented or didn't even happen yet. So kind of strange. But anyway, she's trying to use that. And then she also has, you see all of these redactions saying that in Wayfair's own words during the deposition, they're saying that they knew too. So let's just look at some of them. So it does say here that Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfair defendants who received the document, blank, text messages dated November 11th from Mr. Baldoni to Mr. Heath and Mr. Sarah to remove any doubt as to their understanding, blank, and then that's Baldoni with a timestamp, emphasis added. We still don't have that one unsealed yet. We just have the deposition, so that's what we're kind of going to look at. And then it does go on to say Mr. Heath testified that he understood this document. Okay, deposition of Jamey Heath. Later, Mr. Heath took active steps to prepare for such litigation, and that's Exhibit 14. Okay, and that is the timeline, which is very strange. I mean, I don't know how that, I think that's the timeline anyway. We're going to look at it, but very strange because I don't know how that shows. Okay, we continue. It's Blake Lively, so, it's going to be the upside down. So I got stranger things on the mind, what I'm saying? That same day, June 17, 2024, Mr. Baldoni asked for the recommendation of blank, to which Miss Abel suggested blank, and that's Exhibit 15. Let's see if we have those ones. Okay, so let's look at some of these depositions that she's saying that Jamey Heath and Steve SAROWITZ and Mr. Baldoni, it's here, Exhibit 9, Exhibit 13, etc. It proves that they knew to hold on to messages and evidence and every single thing since November of 2023. Let's see if that's actually what it says in these depots. And actually in the rest of Blake Lively's memorandum for sanctions for spoliation, they start talking about Jed Wallace, Melissa Nathan. Everything seems redacted. So there's no point really going through them. I think what I'm going to do, because we already read that memorandum, I just looked at it and damn near almost everything she says is redacted, but now we have the exhibits. So what I'm going to do is read you all of Jamey Heath's exhibits. Then we'll do Justin Baldoni. Then we'll do Jed Wallace. And then the ladies, Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan. So this is starting with Jamey Heath, the videographer. We're back on the record. The time is 1:42. Miss Shaw. Good afternoon, Mr. Heath. Good afternoon. Before lunch, we were discussing your decision to bring on Tag and Melissa Nathan to handle crisis communications. You had mentioned that at some point, Jen had recommended to you that you should consider bringing on crisis communications professional. Is that right? Correct. What do you recall about that conversation? I recall her saying that she doesn't do crisis PR and this might be a conversation with a crisis PR firm. Do you recall when that conversation occurred? I don't. Do you think it was like within several days of when you first talked to Melissa Nathan? Objection. I don't know if it was in several days, but it wasn't weeks. Okay. Did she recommend Melissa Nathan to you as a potential person that you could hire for crisis comms? I believe it was her. Yes. Okay, meaning it was Jen? I believe so. Did she give you any other names of any other people or firms other than Melissa Nathan that you should consider for crisis communications? I don't remember. She may have. I don't remember. Okay, you can't think of any as you sit here today? I can't. Did you personally speak with Melissa Nathan or anyone from TAG before you decided to hire them? I did. Did you personally speak with or interview any other crisis communications professional? I did not. Did anyone at Wayfair ever speak with or interview any other crisis communication professional other than Melissa Nathan? Not that I'm aware of. Okay, did you also ask or did anyone at Wayfair ask Stephanie Jones for recommendations for crisis communications professionals? I believe we did. Okay. Or I don't know if we asked or if they just shared, but I do know that we got some recommendation from Stephanie Jones. I don't recall how that happened. Okay. And Melissa Nathan was not one of Stephanie Jones's list of recommendations to you for crisis communications, right? She was not. Were you aware that Stephanie Jones expressly warned you that you should not hire Melissa Nathan for this role? Correct? I was aware. What was your understanding of the reasons that Stephanie thought you should not hire Melissa Nathan in this role? To start with, I had a phone conversation. Remember getting answer me the question one more time if you don't mind. Sure. Do you have any basis to tell me as you sit here today that Stephanie Jones didn't follow your instruction for her to stand down after you told her to do that? I can't recall anything. Okay, after the point in time that you told Stephanie she was not to contact any reporters on behalf of Wayfair or Justin, did you have any substantive or strategy or other conversations or communications with Stephanie about Wayfair's publicity after that? After I asked her to stand down? Did I have any subsequent conversations with her? Yes. About the positioning of Jones Works with Wayfair? About Wayfair's publicity plans. Right. Not immediately after. I don't. When I say immediately, I don't mean within days because we are dealing with the current flames. But that is something that became apparent to me that there seemed to be no discussion on that at some point. Once I had learned, you mean during this time or any time? What I'm essentially asking is, after you told her to stand down, did you later loop her back onto the team and get her involved, or no? As I said, she's never been involved. Okay, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so you didn't invite her into the team after that? She was never a part of it. Okay, no offense to Stephanie. Understood. All the offense to Stephanie motherfucking Jones, okay? This is another deposition excerpt from Jamey Heath. On August 11th, Mr. Wallace said you refer to Signal. Do you see that? Which one is that? August 11th at 12:02 a.m. Hey man, I appreciate your message. Could you tell after speaking with you? In the middle, you say, as for Signal, I'm not on it, but we'll set that up this week for sure. I'll let you know once I've done that. Do you see that? I do. Did you set up Signal at that time? I must have. I think I might. I think I did. And did you let Mr. Wallace know that you had set it up? I don't know. Did you communicate with Mr. Wallace on Signal at this after August 11th, 2024? I think there was a few messages sent. And when did you first send a Signal? Let me pull up my freaking diary and see when the first time I texted Jed Wallace. Anyway, it skips a bunch, and then we get to Miss Hudson. Did you communicate with Miss Abel on Signal in September of 2024? I may have. Did you communicate with Miss Nathan on Signal in 2024? I may have. Did you communicate with Mr. Friedman on Signal in 2024 in September of 2024? I know for sure not. And why do you know that one for sure? Well, because I only had one conversation with Mr. Friedman. On Signal? No. I had one conversation with him. I don't remember what month it was. Maybe it was in August. Did you communicate with anyone on Signal in October of 2024? I may have. And did you communicate with Mr. Wallace on Signal in October of 2024? It's the same. I may have. We go to another Jamey Heath deposition. This one starts fiery because the attorneys is like, whatever they said, the subject of testimony with your attorneys during break. Right away, Miss Shapiro is like, I direct you not to answer any questions about your discussions with your attorneys. Miss Hudson, are you following that instruction? Yes. Okay. What do you mean am I following that instruction? I'm going to do whatever my lawyers freaking tell me to do. Then they hand him a document. I just handed you Exhibit 16. Sure. Exhibit 64 is a 64 or 16. I'm sorry. Exhibit 16 is a text change from between Jamey Heath and Mitz Toskovic, dated June 17th, 2024. Do you recognize this as a text change between you and Ms. Toskovic? Yes. And you participated in this text communications with Mitz, correct? Yes. And you ask her in the text change, you say you've got a big job for you. Do you see that at 314 on page 1? I see it. And then if you turn the next page, you tell her, as I read it, I need you to start putting a timeline doc. Try to get as close to the dates as possible. We can fill in the links when I get back. But when Justin and Blake met to write, AJ maybe had in calendar. Can you access when we shot the first karaoke scene? It's when I showed her the video of Tasha. When Angie visited the first time, and when the quote makeup trailer combo that apparently I looked at her, end quote, and when we shot the graveyard scene and Justin met with trainer, when Justin had convo with Blake and Ryan regarding asking about her weight, when we had the conversation when we went back in Blake's house with Angie and Todd, essentially anything we can get, either the date and alleged incidences or the general time frame, and we can narrow it later. Something chronological, best you can. Consult with Reese where needed. The doc can have gaps, but at least let's get something started. And then you go on to say, whatever you can remember, whatever Reese remembers, whatever AJ remembers, anything at all. Also, when we got the letter from Blake, just anything that tells the story chronologically and when we will just continue to build it. Do you see that? I do. Okay. I'm going to give you another document now. What are we? Exhibit 17 and Exhibit 18? You asked Mitz to put together a timeline on June 17th, correct? Are you referring to this document? Yes. I see that. Okay, and Exhibit 17 is an email forwarding a timeline. Do you see that? I do. And then Exhibit 18 I'll represent for the record. It's a document that was produced to us that is reflected in the attachment of that email that says document produced in native format. Can you repeat the last thing? Sorry, I was... Sure. Ugh. I was finishing 17. Sure. So Exhibit 17 is an email forwarding a timeline. Do you see that? I do. Okay. And then it says on the second page of that email, produced in native form. I do. Yes. I'm representing to you that the native format that we received in the production from your lawyers, is that the document? Okay. Is this document, Exhibit 18, the timeline that you asked Ms. Tolkovic to create? It looks to be so. Okay, why did you ask her to create a timeline on June 17th? Just to have a timeline of our whole experience of the movie. Your whole experience of the movie as it relates to Miss Lively. Just the timeline of what we experienced throughout the movie. Yes. For what purpose? So we could have a record of the last year and a half of what we have experienced. Why? There was a lot that went on over the year and a half on different levels, production and all levels. I just wanted to have a timeline of it. Well, your text messages to Ms. Tolkovic doesn't say anything about things that happened during production in general, right? Right. All of the things that are in your text messages to Mitz relate to Miss Lively, correct? Yeah, I see that's in the text message. Yeah. So why did you ask Mitz to create a timeline on June 17th related to Miss Lively? That was one of the aspects of our whole time on the movie, and I also wanted to include that. Well, you didn't say referencing anything else, correct? You only referenced issues related to Miss Lively in your text messages to Mitz, correct? In this particular text message, that's all it speaks to. Yeah, that's all you said when you asked Mitz to create a timeline, correct? In this text message, that's all it refers to. Yes. Do you have another text message? I don't know. Okay, well, my question to you, Mr. Heath, is why were you asking Miss Tolkovic to create a timeline that references events related to Miss Lively on June 17th, 2024? Our experience of the movie, and at this point in June, we were unsure. Justin had lost the movie, I think, by this point. We were dealing with a lot of conversations with Sony about how to navigate moving forward with him as the director. We've got the release of the movie coming up. And in all of this and being confused of where we stood with all of this, I just wanted to have documented just our experience with the movie. For what purpose? Just so I could have a good recollection of it, so that I knew what our last year and a half was. Were you looking for a timeline of incidents related to Miss Lively's complaints? No, not necessarily. I just wanted any experience that we had in all capacities to have a timeline. Well, but the timeline doesn't address every experience that you had in all capacities, does it? I haven't gone through the whole thing, but in all capacities, just with our experience, certainly I can see that, a lot of this has to do with Blake Lively. So that was a big part of our experience. That was a big part of your experience, all incidences where Miss Blake or Miss Lively expressed concerns, correct? I would say it's exactly what I said it was. Thank you. And the incidents that you identified to MITS are incidents that you were aware that Miss Lively had raised concerns prior to June 17th, 2024, correct? Can you repeat that, please? The incidents that you raised to MITS were incidents that you were aware of prior to June 17th that Miss Lively had raised concerns about, correct? In this text message, it references some of those. Yes. Yes. So you were aware of the incidents that you told MITS about prior to June 17th, correct? Was I aware? Yes, I was aware that Justin met with the trainer. I was aware that he asked about the weight. I was aware of some of those things. Yes. Well, you were aware of all of them because you wrote them down, right? Yes. And you wouldn't have been able to write them down if you weren't aware of all of them, correct? I was aware. I was aware that these were included. Yes. That those were all things that Miss Lively had raised concerns about. Correct? Some of them not. Okay. Which of these lists are not things that Miss Lively had raised concerns about that you were aware of on June 17th? Well, just as I go through it, when we shot the graveyard scene, when we had a meeting at Blake's home, why did you want to have a record of when you had a meeting at Blake's home? It was one of the things that we'd experienced on the movie. Okay. And when you said essentially anything we can get, either the date and alleged incident, what did you mean by alleged incident? I don't recall. I don't know. Are you, and you don't know what you meant by alleged incident? I don't know exactly. Okay, and did you have any further follow-up with MITS about what you meant by alleged incident? I don't know. You don't know if you did? I don't know. But somehow did you give her any direction beyond what you put in Exhibit 16? I don't know. Had you talked to MITS about the alleged incidents before? I don't recall. Did you assume she understood what you meant by that? I don't know what I meant by that, but I see that there's a list of things here that specifically asked her to. So other than that, I don't know. What I'm asking you, Mr. Heath, is did you have a belief that MITS would understand what you meant by alleged incidents? I don't know. You don't know? I don't know. I don't know what I meant by that. Do you? Is it MITS that created the timeline in Exhibit 18? She assisted. Yes. Who else was involved in creating the timeline? Myself. What did you do to create this timeline? Just gave more information to it. What this is here, added this to the timeline. How much of the information in this timeline did you put in the timeline? I don't know. And then it skips. You don't know? I don't. Okay, you have no recollection of making any changes to the timeline after August 6th, correct? I don't have a recollection. Okay, and you don't know, you didn't direct MITS to make changes to the timeline after August 6th, correct? I don't recall. I don't know. Okay, and who did you send the timeline, or why did you have the timeline sent to? Like, who? Well, strike that. Do you know why the timeline was sent to the agency group? To tag? Yes. I think at that point it was a quick way to give them a glimpse of a timeline of our experience. Your experience with Miss Lively, our experience that was outlined in the timeline. Your experience with Miss Lively, that is part of it. Okay, it was a way to give Tag a quick update or a summary of the alleged incidents as you described them, correct? I wouldn't characterize it as that. I just think it was a quick way to get a little bit of an update of some of the elements of issues that had arisen with Miss Lively, correct? Of our experience on set, and some that included experiences with Miss Lively, for sure. And that's because you had retained Tag at some point to help you with crisis management related to your concerns about Miss Lively potentially going public, correct? A handful. I don't know exactly. Do you recall any of the conversations with any specificity? And then it skips like 26 pages or something. And I guess right now they're talking about Jed. Can you recall any of the conversations with any specificity? Well, from our first conversation, he seemed like a really nice guy. I remember we talked about our kids. And he would just check in, like, how are you doing? He knew there was a lot of social noise going on, and he was just oftentimes calling to express his lack of a better word, his love. So, your conversation with Mr. Wallace after meeting him in August of 2024 was about his love for you? Objection. No. When you say his love, what do you mean by that? There's a term I would use just to express some nice words of encouragement, We see what's going on. We're monitoring. I hope you're well. Things of that nature. Did he tell you what he saw going on We did not really get into that much other than him saying things like things are looking okay out there. So sorry, what's going on? He would give some general acknowledgement of that nature, but we didn't get into the weeds. He didn't tell you what he saw. I don't recall exactly what was said, but we did not get into the weeds of stuff. So your testimony is that in the conversations that you had with Mr. Wallace, they were just check-ins essentially about your well-being. I mean, I'm looking at our text thread here. I appreciate this message. Congrats on a big weekend. Appreciate you. Looking forward to meeting you. Just checking in. That was typically, how we connected. You didn't have conversations about the work, though. Is that what you're saying? That you had contracted Mr. Wallace to do for nearly $100,000? It would be like me having a conversation with someone about a world in a language I don't understand. That wasn't our conversation. It was just we connected. And that was just what our conversations were. Well, what I'm trying to understand is why you feel the world that Mr. Wallace occupied was something you couldn't understand. Why is that? I mean, I'm not a digital monitoring person that understands social media and all of that. So what did you understand digital monitoring to mean? Monitoring what was going on in the digital realm? And you weren't curious about how Mr. Wallace did that? It wasn't I didn't have any reason to be concerned about it or think about it beyond that. It just was, he was here to help, and that's all that mattered. He was doing it in a way that I understood was aligned with us. On August 11th, Mr. Wallace said to you refer to Signal. Do you see that? Which one is this? August 11th at 12:02 a.m. Hey man, I appreciate your message. Could you tell after speaking with you? In the middle, you say, as for Signal, I'm not on it, but we'll set that up this week for sure. I'll let you know once I'm done that. Do you see that? I do. And did you set up Signal at that time? I must have. I mean, I think I did. And did you let Mr. Wallace know that you had set it up? I don't know. Did you communicate with Mr. Wallace on Signal after this, after August 11th? I think there was a few messages sent. And when did you first send a signal to Mr. Wallace? I don't recall. When did you first receive a Signal message from Mr. Wallace? I don't recall. I guess it would have been around this time. That's my guess. Okay. And did you communicate on Signal with anyone else after you obtained Signal? I don't think so. The only person, there could have been somebody. I don't think so. The only one you recall communicating with on Signal was Mr. Wallace. The time, I don't remember. It could have been. I would have had to refresh my memory. Maybe there was something with Jen and Melissa on there, but I don't have a specific memory on it. Did you have a group chain with Mr. Wallace, Miss Abel, and Miss Nathan at this time? I don't know if that was on Signal or text messages, but I think that we did, yeah. Do you think it was on Signal? I don't know which one. You might have been on Signal. We may have. You believe that there was a minimum of text change with you, Miss Nathan, and Mr. Wallace, regardless of platform? I think there may have been. I'm happy to be refreshed. Other than Mr. Wallace and possibly Miss Nathan and Miss Abel, is there anyone else that you recall communicating with on Signal and in August of 2024? I don't know the month. There was so many ways of communicating: email, phone, text message. Signal could have been one of them. I just don't. So you may have communicated with other people on Signal in August of 2024 other than the ones you identify. I don't have a particular recollection of it because I think that was probably the only people that I communicated with at that time, but I don't know. Did you communicate with Mr. Freeman on Signal in August of 2024? I don't know. You may have. I don't know. Did you communicate with Mr. Baldoni on Signal in August of 2024? I don't know. When you downloaded Signal, did you make an effort to change any of the settings for the handling and preservation of messages? In August, when you downloaded Signal? No. Did the messages that you exchanged on Signal in August of 2024 automatically disappear as far as you know? I think that depends on whatever thread I was on. Whoever initiated it may have set the settings. I don't have any particular memory of myself setting it something to disappear. And did you set up your Signal messages so that they would not disappear? In August? Yes. I don't believe I was thinking about that. Did you communicate by Signal in September of 2024? I may have. And who do you believe you may have communicated with on Signal in September of 2024? It would be a guess. I just don't know. Did you communicate with Mr. Wallace on Signal in September of 2024? I may have. Did you communicate with Miss Abel on Signal? I may have. Did you communicate with Miss Nathan? I may have. Did you communicate with Mr. Freeman on Signal in September of 2024? I know for sure not. Did you communicate with anyone, any Wayfair employees on Signal between August and December of 2024? I don't know during that time period. You don't know, but you may have. I don't have a memory of it during that time, no. For any of the communications that you had on Signal between August and December of 2024, do you have any of them still? And then it skips. This is so, these lawyers should be embarrassed by this chase of Signal messages. Have you taken any steps to learn if Wayfair has any policies, practices, or procedures regarding document retention or deletion? I have not taken any particular steps as a company to make sure that there is some sort of policy, but Wayfair is aware to not delete anything. And how would you know? How is Wayfair aware not to delete anything? Once we received the CRD complaint, sometime at that point, we were made aware and that was communicated. So you weren't aware of any obligations to preserve or not delete documents until you received the CRD complaint? Was not aware. So you did not make any effort to preserve or not delete documents prior to receiving the CRD complaint. Other than what I said, there was no reason or auto delete happening. There was no particular effort to go outside the normal scope. And you said that you received instructions to preserve documents after Ms. Lively filed her CRD complaint. I don't know if it was that CRD complaint or the lawsuit, I don't recall, but during that period, we learned that there was, or maybe it was a notice from Mr. Gottlieb. Sometime in that time frame, we were made aware. I don't recall where it came from. Are you talking about the cease and desist letter that we sent? It may have been that. I don't recall exactly. It was just in that time frame. And did you take some steps to preserve documents once you received the cease and desist letter? Yes. What steps did you take? Made sure that personally, if there was anything that was said to disappear or delete that they were not, told Wayfair parties to not delete anything, that in case they otherwise might. I can't recall at the moment, but I think those were the general steps. And did you have any personal devices that were set for automatic deletion at that time? There may have been some threads that were on Signal, so I just reviewed them and made sure that they were not on disappear mode. So what was there between August and December you ensured it was not on auto disappear mode? I don't understand the question. Well, you said that you had some communications between August and December of 2024, correct? Yes. And when you got the cease and desist letter, you looked at the threads to make sure that they were not on automatic disappearing mode, correct? Correct. So at that time you did that, those threads existed, correct? Correct. I imagine so. And they should still be there now, right? I believe they would be. And were there any of those threads related in any way to Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, or any of the issues in this litigation? I didn't pay attention to the content. I just made sure that whatever thread there was not, there is nothing in there that would be on auto delete or auto disappear. And that's all from your Signal communications. So far, I don't see anything from Jamey Heath that matches Blake Lively's redactions, that they admitted that they should have preserved information, that there's like clear spoliation, but maybe it's just me. But this is the last one. This one's a little bit shorter and sweeter, but this is Jamey Heath's last one that was unsealed. Did you discuss with them, yes or no, that you were going to testify with respect to that answer this morning? Same objections and same instructions. Are you going to follow that instruction? I think it's best. Okay, I don't have the words right in front of me, but you did give me the correction that you wanted to correct at the top of the testimony today. Would you just explain that to me again? What it is about yesterday's testimony that you wanted to correct in today's testimony? I think simply, as I was testifying, as it pertains to the 17-point list and my state of mind and how I viewed it, in reflecting, while of course I agree that all of these things were reasonable things that anyone would ask for, I think I also messaged that I may not have considered that some of these things had a nod to what may have been brought up in the past, and that's what I wanted to. I see. So am I understanding correctly that what you're essentially saying is you think during the deposition yesterday, it may have appeared from your testimony that you were not leaving room for the possibility that some of the things on the 17-point list related in some way to past incidents, and that the aspect of it that you want to expand on this morning, not necessarily that it related to, but that I that I had considered that some of these things that have been sort of nod, for lack of a better term, to what we had discussed in the past. What you and Miss Lively and others had discussed in the past, some of the concerns that she may have spoken about. Okay, and when you say the word nod, like it may have some nod to those things, do you mean reference or relateness, or can you give me another verb that it could have insinuated that possibly is this related to anything that's come up before? While I didn't necessarily land on that, but that it was a consideration. It's something that went through your mind at the time? Sure. Okay, why was it important for you to correct that aspect of your testimony this morning? I want to really do my best to reflect and to be truthful. And if that was sitting in me, did I convey that correctly? And so that was the purpose. Is there anything else about your testimony yesterday that you want to take the opportunity now to correct? No. Okay. You were in the room, the breakout room with your lawyers last night after the deposition with some of other defendants here, and I believe your wife and Mr. Baldoni's wife for quite a long time last night. During that time, did you discuss the substance of your deposition testimony yesterday in any respect? I don't believe so. Very interesting that the wives were there from Wayfair, that Natasha was there, and so was Emily, but you know who wasn't at Blake Lively's? While Blake Lively was going through her biggest week ever with depositions, Ryan was touring TIFF. I mean, hilarious. And I think for the sake of time for this video, we'll just go over Justin Baldoni's, and then there's one from Steve Sarowitz. And then in the next video, I can do Melissa Nathan, Jen Abel, and Jed Wallace and kind of pin them together because they're like the PR people, and then Wayfair is over here. There's a couple here from Justin Baldoni. That's what we'll do next. And then there's one from Steve Sarowitz. Okay, Blake, let us see you prove spoliation here. These are your exhibits that you put as your evidence. Let's see them. She's very good at her job. It starts at 136 and the first sentence is, but I believe he thought she was very good at her job. Do you know what led him to believe that? I don't. Do you have any personal role in making the decision to hire Melissa Nathan over any of the other crisis PRs that may have been recommended? No. Are you aware that Jamie got the names for potential crisis communications professionals that he was considering? I imagine from Mr. Baldoni, don't speculate. No, I actually don't. You don't know? No. Do you know if he or anyone else at Wayfair asked Stephanie Jones for her views on crisis communications professionals that you should hire? I don't. Do you know if she recommended Melissa Nathan or not? If Stephanie Jones recommended, I now know that she didn't. How did you come to that understanding? Mr. Baldoni, don't answer. No. If the information came from your lawyer, yes, I can answer this. Stephanie had sent me a text about Melissa Nathan. You knew at the time that Stephanie did not recommend that you hire Melissa Nathan, correct? I knew that Stephanie did not like Melissa Nathan, yes. And Stephanie warned you against hiring Melissa Nathan, isn't that right? I think you could put it that way with my interaction with Stephanie, yeah. And were you aware that Stephanie also warned Jamey Heath and Tara Hanks against hiring Melissa Nathan? I was only aware of what she texted me. Jamey Heath and Tara Hanks never told you that Stephanie Jones had also warned them against hiring Melissa Nathan? Not that I recall. Do you have an understanding as to why Stephanie Jones was warning you against hiring Melissa Nathan? I vaguely remember. I think there was a text message that she sent me that she said I'm reading it in my mind. There was like a word shady in there, but it was like a link to something that I never clicked on. Other than the text message you're describing with Stephanie Jones, did you ever have a conversation with her about this issue, whether in person or on the phone? I don't know. My memory of this time was that there was a lot of messages and I might have spoken to Stephanie. I don't remember the conversation, but it felt like a frantic, very frantic energy from Stephanie. Did you give any credence to the information that she was giving you in terms of why you should not hire Melissa Nathan to be aligned with you? What do you mean by credence exactly? Did you take her concerns seriously? I believe I did. Did you do anything to investigate them further before you hired Melissa Nathan? I didn't have any capacity at that time to do any personal investigation, no. Did you relay Stephanie's concerns to Jamey Heath or Tara Hanks at the time? I believe I did, yes. Tell me what you recall about the substance of those conversations or communications. Wow, I remember passing along that Stephanie doesn't like, I didn't know I didn't know who Melissa Nathan was, one of the people. That's what I remember. Do you remember Stephanie Jones telling you in sum or substance that Melissa Nathan was the tactics she uses as a crisis communications professional was not kinds of tactics that you want to be publicly associated yourself with? Yeah, that sounds familiar. Are you aware that Wayfarer and you decided to hire Melissa Nathan over Stephanie Jones's objections? I would imagine so, yes. Okay, I'm going to show you what's marked as a document, Exhibit 5. It's a text message between you, Stephanie Jones, dated July 26, 2024. Is this the text message that you were referring to, what Stephanie Jones sent you, where she warned you against hiring Melissa Nathan? Yeah, it appears to be. And this is what was sent you on July 26th, 2024. So does this refresh your recollection that you were considering bringing on crisis PR before July 26th? Yes. Okay, and as you recall, Stephanie Jones sent you a link at the top of the text thread, right? Yes. You said you never clicked on that, and then it cuts out, and then it starts back up 5 pages later. I don't know. No, I don't know. Because you never asked her what she meant by that. Unless you have a document that says I did, I don't feel like I did. Okay, I'm going to show you a document that's been marked as Exhibit 6. You got it. It's a text message between Stephanie Jones, Jamie Heath, Tara Hanks, and you. Dated July 26th. Do you see that? Yes. Okay, do you recall this text message when you received it? Vaguely, yes. Okay, and in this text message, Stephanie Jones warns you, Tara Hanks, and Jamie Heath that you should not work with Melissa Nathan because there's a lot of dirty work that she has done, and it's not someone you should want in Justin's orb. Do you see that? Yes. Okay, and she goes on to say, or for Blake's PR to use as a weapon against him. Do you see that? I do. Did you ever have a conversation with her about what she meant by that? I did not have a conversation with Stephanie at all around this. Okay. Do you have any understanding whether from this text message or anything else that you knew at the time about what she meant when she said, I just downloaded Tara on some dark stuff? I don't. Did Tara ever relay the substance of that conversation to you? I think I had a conversation with Tara and Jamie that I didn't want to be a part of any of this, so I trusted them to make the decision. I don't believe she told me anything. Okay. Do you understand from this text message that Stephanie is telling you and Jamie and Tara that it might not be good for you to associate with someone like Melissa Nathan based on the type of tactics that she has used in the past? Yeah, that seems to be an accurate summary. And that if people knew that you were associated with Melissa Nathan, or specifically in Blake's PR came to find out that you had associated yourself with Melissa Nathan, they could use that against you because of who Melissa Nathan was, right? I can't speculate to what she meant by that, but it seems to be she says Blake's PR to use as a weapon. So, okay, now Wayfarer and you, are you done with this one? I think so. Here you go. Wayfarer and you went ahead and hired Melissa Nathan after and despite Stephanie Jones's warnings, right? I believe so. And there came a time in August after you had hired Melissa Nathan that the Hollywood Reporter published an article about the fact that you had hired Melissa Nathan, right? Yes. I'm going to show you that article. It's a document we're going to mark as Exhibit 7. Thank you. It's an article from the Hollywood Reporter dated August 14th, 2024 that says, Justin Baldoni hires crisis PR veteran amid it ends with us rift. Do you see that? And it goes to say, the director and star has retained the services of Melissa Nathan, who represented Johnny Depp during the Amber Heard trial. Do you see that? Excuse me, on the second page? Yes. Okay, so you were pretty upset when this article came out, right? I don't remember how I was feeling. You were worried that when this article came out that being publicly associated with Melissa Nathan might make it look like you had something to be guilty for, right? No, I think I was just not happy that my crisis PR was being publicized. I don't think it had anything to do with Melissa Nathan. Why were you not happy that your crisis PR was publicized? Because it felt more of the kind of thing that felt like somebody would plant to draw more attention and fan a flame to something. Fan a flame to what? To public speculation, the fan theories of why I wasn't doing press with anybody, and what were the fan theories at the time about you not wanting to do press with anyone. I remember there being a lot of talk about all of the cast unfollowing me, why I wasn't doing press with any of the other cast members. I don't remember the date this all came out, but I don't know if I had already done the premiere or not at this point. But I had also never read an article or seen an article about somebody hiring crisis PR, so I found it odd. And you thought it made you look bad, right? Yeah, Think I did. You thought it made you look like you had something to hide. I think I had never been involved in anything like this, and I wasn't used to seeing my name in the press in this way at all. And I certainly didn't want my name out there in a negative way. You thought it made it look like you had something to hide, that you had to do with the allegations of an on-set abuse, right? And then it jumps. And something I'm just thinking of now while I'm editing this video is, why are they asking him about on-set abuse happening in August of 2024 when none of that was even in the press yet and nobody knew really about anything that happened to do on set until Blake Lively filed her CRD complaint? The only thing that was out is that he lingered on a kiss and he fat shamed her, allegedly. So to bring up on-set abuse for a smear campaign in August just doesn't make any sense to me. And this line of questioning is super, super, super crazy. That's a crazy line of questioning. Which part do you not agree with? Can you ask me again? You left JonesWorks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after Jennifer Abel was fired from JonesWorks, right? I don't know the sequence. I know that Jennifer had put in her notice, so I'm confused by the way the question is asked. Let me ask it in a different way. You left JonesWorks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after she left JonesWorks, right? Yeah, yes. Why? Because she was my publicist for years before and I trusted her. Do you still trust her? I do. Okay, have you seen any documents or text messages in this case or otherwise where Stephanie Jones is talking shit about you the way Jen Abel was? I haven't seen any documents about Stephanie Jones in general, to my knowledge. Okay, are we done with this one? Yes, okay. Are you aware that Wayfair onboarded Tag as its crisis publicist? Katie Case and Melissa Nathan were joking about whether your faith was a cult? I was not aware. What do you think about that? Well, I think anytime somebody makes a religious joke, I think that's not okay. It seems to have happened a lot in this case, including from your own publicist, it seems. If you want to show it to me, I'd be happy to see it. I haven't heard anything. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. Sure. Tab 139, please. I will show you a document that's marked as Exhibit 13. It's a text thread between Katie Case and Melissa Nathan from August 4th, 2024, with the bait stamp Nathan. Okay, sorry, there is more than one page. Have you seen this before? I have not. Were you aware that Katie Case and Melissa Nathan were texting things like this about you while they were on a call with you? No, I was not. Ew, ew, ew. OMG. They are definitely trying to turn everyone against each other, pin all of the Wayfair people. It seems, to the best of my knowledge and my understanding, just from the extensive amount of readings I've done on this, that everyone was just really trying to protect Justin Baldoni. I mean, I think he told Jen Abel and Jamie Heath, I don't want anything to do with this. I can't handle this. Deal with it. And that's exactly what happened. And that just goes to speak to how soft his heart is, really, and how big it is, because he was just it's a lot what happened to him. And he was never in the press like that. He's not used to being Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, where they hire paparazzi to go to Trader Joe's or walk down the street or have date night. He was a very private, really, person and wasn't that kind of celebrity, although he was a very big celebrity, in my opinion. He wasn't Hollywood, right? So how overwhelming that must have been. And then you're being attacked by Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, not only in person in meetings and pre-production, during production, and your movie stolen from them, but then you're attacked in the media and your name is literally blitzed everywhere. And now you go and you sit for your deposition and they're showing you text messages from your own people talking shit about you. How absolutely heartbreaking and disgusting. My heart bleeds for Justin Baldoni. There needs to be justice for Justin and for all of Wayfair, but for Justin, because what he went through, disgusting. It's heartbreaking. Okay, there's two more very short ones from Justin Baldoni. They're only about 2 pages, but this is about the signal messages. And again, Blake Lively used these as evidence of spoliation, which so far I haven't seen nothing except them. I'm nothing that proves anything that they should have preserved signal messages at least. But here's a deposition from Justin about signal messages. So maybe somewhere it's here, okay? Maybe we'll find it in this depo, because so far, zilch, nothing. Here it is. I want to come back to your use of Signal. I think you testified earlier this morning that you had never used Signal before Blake's complaint was filed in December of 2024. Am I getting that correct? I had the app, but I wasn't a participant, like doing anything on the app. Do you recall when you downloaded the app? I recall 2 different times that I had downloaded the app. The first time I ever heard of Signal was from Stephanie Jones, and I don't know how long ago that was. I feel like that was... sorry, when I close my eyes sometimes I can visualize so I understand where I am. I believe it was I think it was around 2020. She had told me that she preferred methods of communication and she liked Signal, but we never communicated on Signal. And then I think your phone just gets rid of it when you don't use it. And then I downloaded it again. I joined a men's group and they had their own group on Signal. And then I wasn't able to join officially the men's group, so I never joined that group on Signal. And then so it was just kind of an app that was there. And then I downloaded it probably the day after or 2 days after the New York Times article and the lawsuit. When you downloaded it a day or 2 days after the New York Times article and the lawsuit, why did you do that? I believe it was a group decision to move all of our chats to Signal. And who was it in the group that made that group decision? My attorneys, I believe all the defendants here. Melissa Nathan, yes. Jen Abel, yes. Jamie Heath, yes. Steve Sarowitz. I think he eventually joined, yes, but not at first. Meh, Steve is always in his own world. That guy, Steve Sarowitz, he's a boss, okay? Listen, he don't got no time for Signal, all right? Okay, still so far, nothing from Jamie Heath, and this is the last one from Justin Baldoni. So maybe in here there's magical evidence of spoliation and preservation of documents and some kind of proof for Blake, but I haven't seen it yet. It starts here on page 348. Has invested, to my knowledge, over $100 million, and that's nowhere near the amount of profit we made on it ends with us. So I have not taken, nor will I take any share of that. Is there documentation that memorializes what you just said to me? I don't believe so. Is there documentation that would show the payments that you have received, if any, derived from the film It Ends With Us? Yeah, of course. Have you produced those to us? My lawyers have everything that would need to be produced, so I would assume that if that was something that would need to be produced, that they would produce it. Do you recall telling us in an interrogatory response that you first anticipated litigation about It Ends With Us in August of 2024? I don't remember, but I'm assuming that's correct. Did you understand after that point in time that you were required to preserve all documents concerning the litigation that you anticipated? No. When did you understand that? I believe this last week. This last week is the first time you understood that you were required to preserve documents in this case? Yes, but I preserve them anyways. What steps did you take to preserve your documents, if any, in August of 2024? By not deleting anything. Okay, so you didn't delete anything. Did you have any understanding of the retention policies that existed on your email account? Can you be more specific? Do you have any knowledge as you sit here today, one way or the other, whether the email accounts that you use have retention policies on them? Retention meaning they stay or they don't stay? They stay or they get deleted after a period of time. I always have on all my emails and then it's cut off. Who the heck knows about their retention policies on their email? I thought emails last forever. This is so crazy. Anyway, this is the last one we're going to look at so far. The only thing that I caught about the preservation was just that last one when he anticipated litigation. But I mean, when you're an overthinker and everything, like you always think, I'm sure he anticipated litigation as soon as he started getting the movie taken from him and the 17-point list of demands and Blake Lively continuing to use the same 4 minor incidences for a year and a half of grievances, the same little things. I'm sure litigation came into his mind over and over and over but never thought that it would happen because they have way more on Lively than what Lively has on them. I mean, the way she acted was absurd and all he did was use the word sexy. I mean, come on, you know? This is the last one we'll go through today, and this is the deposition by the one, the only, Steve Sarowitz. Starts off strong here with Miss Garofalo. Again, he's not asking you about any communications with counsel. You're instructed not to answer with information you obtain solely from counsel. You can otherwise answer the question. Do you understand the instruction? Yes. So just to repeat, so I make sure, Are you asking me if I'm aware of any policy on retention of messages? Yes. Oh, and this is Mr. Gottlieb. No, I'm not aware. Have you ever personally gone into your Signal application and set or adjusted auto delete functions on any chats that you've had? No. So you do not know one way or another whether these Signal chats that you have relating to the film have an auto delete function on them or not. Is that correct? Again, he's not asking you about anything you may have learned from attorneys in the course of this litigation. He's asking about your independent knowledge. No. No, you don't know. I don't know. Have you ever had any person take your phone and adjust your auto delete settings as far as you know? No. Did you take any steps after you learned about the possibility of litigation in this case to adjust the retention policies or look at the retention policies for your forbay.com email address? No. Do you know what the default setting is in your system? No. Do you know what the default setting is in Signal for message deletion and retention? No. So there's no steps, none. There's no steps that you took as you sit here today that you can think of, steps that you took to determine whether any of your messages were being deleted. Again, he's not asking you to respond with anything you learned from your attorneys in connection with this litigation. Just you individually. No. Right. And just to make sure, because I'm not sure how clear my last question was, with respect to Signal, there's no steps. Not conversations you had with your lawyers, but things that you actually did. You're unaware of anything that you did to determine whether your messages were being deleted or not. Yes, you're not aware. Yes, I am not aware. Okay, did you review any of the documents that you produced as part of this litigation? And again, this is just asking the question if I reviewed them with my attorneys. No, just did you review at any time any of the documents that were produced in this litigation? And then that's it. I think this one's funny when he's saying no, and then all of a sudden he says yes, and then Gottlieb's like, yes, so you're, and then he's like, no. That's all the boys of Wayfair. So far, there's nothing here. And I already read through Jen Abel and Melissa Nathan. It's kind of the same line of questioning and Jed Wallace. I'm really going to do one, though, on the PR side of the depositions because it's important to get you all the information. So I'll have that for you tomorrow morning. But as for these, this is evidence that Blake Lively herself submitted that's supposed to help. Where is it? Again, another media spin. And what's crazy is that she asked for sanctions on Melissa Nathan for improper redactions. And looking, I showed you the pages of redactions that is supposed to prove her point of sanctions for spoliation. And we don't got nothing about nothing. This week's a big week. We're going to get a lot of things unsealed that were filed. And by December 19th, we're going to have, guys, it's going down. Okay? Everything's coming out. Everyone's excerpts, everyone's depots, Blake Lively's communications. There's going to be a lot in the next couple of weeks, next 2 or 3 weeks. That's really going to start to unravel. And the House of Cards is already falling. And I am here for it. I can't wait. I want justice for Justin and for all of the Wayfair, and I don't want any director, any producer, any indie filmmaker to ever have to deal with this kind of stuff again. It's absolutely monstrous. Blake Lively, gross. Ryan Reynolds, despicable. Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman, get out of here, and anyone else involved with them. Gross. The entire Lively family, even her sister Robin Lively, parading around in those freaking sweaters and doing all of this, and Brandon Sklenar and Colleen Hoover snitching to Ryan Reynolds. Liz Plank, I'm still not done with you. Stephanie motherfucking Jones, your enemy number one. Y'all know how I feel about it, okay? I hope you're having a great day. It was so awesome to be here. Let me get this video to tomorrow about all of the PR depots, and then we're all caught up, baby. That's it. But if you're looking to get more information, all of the details in the It Ends With Us, give me a subscribe. And if you're down for some mindfulness, healing, or just living your best life and finding you're happy, please join the membership. It's at the lowest tier. There's more videos coming out, and in January there's going to be a whole new thing for you, so I'm super excited to get that to you. And yeah, I'm really excited for everyone to be here. Okay, I love you so much. I hope you're having the best day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.